Okay.
So, for those of you who have joined us in the first two sessions, right? Please let us know, right? Or those of you who have not seen the first two episodes, also let us know so that, roughly we know the percentage of the people that have heard the earlier sessions, right? Okay.
Yeah, and since we have been on the topic of the effects of COVID-19 on the market, we thought we would like to share with everyone who's viewing with us now what's the sensing on the ground currently for the market. So we are actually seeing an uptick in the HDB and private resale viewings. And we are guessing that is partly due to the delay in construction. And so we've got a few buyers who are actually asking us whether, what do we think, whether they should still go ahead for their BTO ballots, because some of the BTO ballots, they are expecting the completion to only come about in 2026 or 2027, which is a really long wait. So they are starting to turn their attention to resale options instead. And I think it's been quite crazy for us and for our agent friends. We have pre-packed weekend viewings. Each unit can go about like 7 viewings for our HDB resale units. So yeah, it is pretty much a completely unexpected side effect of COVID-19, because everyone was expecting interest to drop, for lesser interest in the general public.
So if we have any of our agent friends joining us tonight, maybe you can let us know, is it do you guys also have this phenomenon whereby you are super packed on the weekends? You get like 8 to 10 viewings per unit for HDBs, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that is really one of the reasons why. Hi Yu Hui. So that is one of the reasons why we do what we do, right? This Facebook Live session is to share with buyers, share with investors on the ground, like what we feel on the ground. Okay, because sometimes what you read on the newspapers, analysts, they come off, everything is based on like numbers and facts and things like that. But based on our experience, right, nothing beats actual on the ground feel.
Yeah,
right?
Those numbers and data comes a bit later, so sometimes market has changed and you don't even know about it yet. Yeah, so one unintended effect is that because we have so many viewings for HDB resale and the HDB resale units are actually moving in the sense that they are being sold, one thing is that these HDB sellers, they would actually then go out into the market and they would be your HDB upgraders looking to buy in the private resale market or in the private new launch market, and that would actually, start the whole cycle rolling.
Yep. So we also have clients, right, that came to us asking, is the prices dropping? Because they monitor the Property Guru, right? I think one of the top few popular pastimes Singaporeans have monitor Property Guru. Then they ask, why the prices never drop? They are completely puzzled by that. Hi Desmond. Okay, completely puzzled by why the prices are not dropping, you see. We have answered that question actually in episode 1. So let me put in the link in episode 1 and episode 2, but please don't go and watch it now. Watch it at the end of this sharing because we promise you today's session got a lot of info, very, very useful info for all of you, right? It's really something that we thought we would share with all our viewers, right? Because of you all took time out to listen to us and follow us through the 3-part series. So let me insert the link while Elizabeth, entertain you all.
So let's move on to the main topic. Yeah, so today, one second, yeah. Okay, so yeah, today is our third part of our three-part series. Alvin is sending us the link for part 1 for those of you guys who didn't catch it. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about what you should look out for post COVID-19.
Yep. Hi, Chai. Okay. Right. Moving on. Okay. So, right, in the first part of the series, we talked about the sustainability of the real estate market in Singapore. So, actually, what we were trying to talk about is the past. Okay, what the government did in the past, right? To stamp out speculation, the cooling measures, what they did in the past to allow us to enter this COVID-19 crisis sustainably, right? With the market not in a bubble, which is why we did not see the similar drop in prices that we used to see in previous crises. Okay, in episode 2, we talk about the emerging trends in the real estate market. Okay, right? Remember, we talked about the minimum unit size requirements, the down payment trends. So those are things that are happening currently in the present. So in today's session, when we talk about what you should look out for post COVID-19, we're trying to see what's going to happen in the future. Okay. So our go-to perimeter, okay, in the real estate market to try to foresee what's going to happen in the future is the supply cycle. Okay, so the supply cycle is something that is very easy to predict. Okay, because land sold today will form the supply 3 to 4 years down the road when they are completed. Okay, so if you don't sell land today, 4 years later, got no house, or got very little house. You sell too much land today, 4 years later, you'll get an oversupply of properties. Okay, so this is the chart, okay, of the supply cycle. Okay, so a bit complicated, so I will try to help. We will try to help you understand it a little bit better, step by step. Okay. Okay, so for those of us that follow the papers, okay, in June 2020, right, the government came up to say that they are cutting the supply of private housing because of the COVID-19 crisis, right? So by controlling housing supply is one of the government's way of keeping the property prices sustainable. So every time there's an oversupply, they will stop selling land, right, to try to manage the prices. But based on what we know, okay, supply is very, very hard to predict because of its laggard effect, right? You sell a land today, only 4 years later, then it appears. So what the government have done is to reduce the supply of housing, right, to prevent the market from tanking due to the COVID-19 crisis. So we've picked out this particular set of numbers from the URA website. I'm gonna paste in the link for the URA website that I use, right, so that you guys can also go in to play around with it to see the info. Okay, so if you follow me, this data is the most updated data as of second quarter 2020. In it, at the top part, you see in all market segments, we expect a total supply of 49,000 units coming online 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. What we perhaps will want to pay attention to is the trend. So you see in 2020 about 1,400. It then picks up quite a bit, 12,000, 14,000, 16,000 in 2023. I think this is something that perhaps most of you that are listening in would know, right? There's there's people think that there's an oversupply coming onto the market, right? It is true to a certain extent, right? 2021, 2022, 2023, right? Got close to 50,000 units. But, right, notice that the number plunges significantly down to 3,500. Actually, this 3,500 was an effect not just from government cutting the supply in the article that you saw earlier. It was actually, if you notice, there hasn't been a lot of land sales or en bloc ever since the July 18 cooling measures. So think about it, ever since July 19, 2020, very, very little land sales, which is why we do not see any numbers, right? Any potential supply coming online post 2024, alright? So we have seen the government do this before, right? The article is June 2020, but you notice the title of the article very similar, and this one was dated June 2014. So the government has done this before, which is why you saw the earlier chart, right? That go up, go down, go up, go down, right? So they have done it before. So what happened, right? So how do we predict what's going to happen post COVID-19? We take reference to what happened last time. Okay, 2024, cut land supply. Okay, what happened? So this is the chart, right? Because of it's a similar chart, but this time around, right, I pulled out the figures from 2015. Okay, so remember 2020, very little. Of course, there's a slight difference in the numbers because some units actually complete earlier. But 2020, low supply. 2019, actually relatively low. Because you notice, in 2016, 2017, 2018, the numbers are quite high. 2015, that is not inside this chart, right? It's 21,000. So actually, between 2015 and 2018, the supply is close to 80,000. Okay, so the government saw that, and which is why they have cut the supply in 2014. When they cut the supply, it results in undersupply. Remember, every time they stop selling land, 4-5 years later, undersupply. So that's why you notice 2019, 2020, the supply is quite little. Okay. So then what did that result in? Okay, so it resulted in the developers. So once the developers finish selling that big sum, that 80,000 supply between 2015 to 2018, right? By May 2017, actually they finished selling already. So nothing else to sell. They are forced to come back into the market, and I think it's still fresh in a lot of our memories. That bull run in the market,
the whole en bloc
right?
cycle.
That bull run that's kickstart with the whole en bloc cycle that really pushed the prices up extremely fast. Okay, so all flocked back into the market because nothing else to sell. Demand fully absorbed up. And people start to see that, there's going to be an undersupply in 2019, 2020. So that resulted in a huge spike in land prices. Okay, 24% increase in the OCR, which is your outskirts, 16% in your RCR, and 15% in your CCR. And this is the effect on people. Okay, how many of you remember, or actually how many of you actually bought properties during this, or who remembers this case? Let us know in your comments, right? Who remembers what happened then? Okay, drop us a text, right? So this was the night of the 5th of July when the government introduced the property cooling measures. Not introduced, right? They adjusted, right? They introduced new property cooling measures. They increased the ABSD. They lowered the loan to value to cool the market. So we have everybody rushing to the show flat to buy it last minute to try to beat the cooling measures.
That
right?
will be effective the very next day. So there were people queuing up to midnight. Yeah, trying to be in time just for the old rules.
Yep. Okay. So how does one take advantage or profit from the supply cycle? Right? So we have seen that how it's so easy to predict, because if you don't sell land today, 4 years later under supply, right? So for some of these lucky owners, right? I wouldn't say lucky, they probably knew it, right? So today we share with you. So today you know, okay. Follow me, right? They bought in May 2014, at the onset of oversupply, they sell in 1/8 at the onset of undersupply. Okay, so this is Commonwealth Towers, located in Commonwealth Avenue. Holding period of about 4 years. They yield profits between 126,000 to 300,000. Okay. This is Pasir Ris Grove. It's Cocoa Palms, the name of the condo. Buy similarly onset of the oversupply, sell onset of undersupply. Yielding profits ranging from 260,000 to 400,000. Okay. This is at Fernville, a development called High Park Residences. Okay. Profits between 350,000 to 400,000. Similarly, onset of oversupply, sell during onset of undersupply. Okay. So come back to the supply cycle. So now that I've run you through the story, right? So follow me, right? 2015, 2014, they cut the land sales. 2014, they cut the land sales. So that result in an undersupply during this 2019, 2020. Okay. But when the market start to run, the market actually start to run prior to the onset of undersupply. They start to run once developers finish selling their stock. So we remember developers finish selling their stock actually 1 to 2 years before the onset of undersupply, which resulted in that market to run post 2017. Near the end of 2017, start of 2018, the market start to run preceded by developers starting the en bloc cycle, right? So today, we know 2014 onwards, little to no supply. Okay, the government has tapered off the land sales, right? And we know this is not just starting because of COVID. The land sales have tapered off significantly after the property cooling measures in 2018. So 2019, 2020 got very little land sales already. So we're going to see an onset of undersupply in 2024, 2025. So when will the market run? You derive the answer yourself if you've been following me so far. If cannot catch, don't worry, you take down our numbers after the when we reach the Q&A part, we'll share with you our numbers. You text us if you cannot understand, okay? Oh, wait, computer a bit slow. Oops. Okay, can. Don't kanchong. Okay. So if any of you have any questions, can start to throw it into the group chat already, so that into the chat so that we will answer your questions at the end of it. Okay. So last thing to know, so we have already given you guys a glimpse of the overall supply side cycle. So one final tip, because you all joined us tonight, okay? I come back to the exact same slide that I shared earlier. What is the number we should look out for? Okay, for all you homeowners, for all you investors out there, what is a key number that I will look out for? Okay? So you see, the supply is split up 19% in the CCR, 42% in the RCR, 39% in the OCR. In the previous cycle, the supply was primarily in the OCR. It was 60% for those of you that can remember, which actually makes sense, because most of the people stay in the OCR. Most of the demand, right, is in the OCR. So it only makes sense that the supply goes towards the OCR. But somehow or other, that is what we have spotted is a bit of a shift. But for us, we look at it as undersupply, right? OCR, we will see quite a fair bit of undersupply. And this is the number that is very, very surprising. Notice how 2024 onwards, it's only going to be 174 units in the OCR market. And this is to cater to all the upgraders, all the BTO upgraders, all the first timers, potential EC buyers in the OCR, 174, 2024 onwards. Yeah, so this...
The question is that going to be enough?
Yes, is that confirm not enough, right? So, right, we'll leave it to you guys, right, to your own imagination, to your own understanding. How do you make use of this info to your advantage? But 174 units in the OCR, the whole OCR, 2024 onwards. Think about it, yeah? Okay, so to summarize everything, right? The past, present, future. How do we make sense? This slide is basically the roundup of episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. Right. So episode 1, we shared how the cooling measures have stabilized the market. Right. Leverage today is the lowest it's ever been in the Singapore property market. Unit sizes will get bigger, making it more expensive, right? Because of the minimum unit size requirements from 70 square meters to 85 square meters. Okay. And this is stacked on top of that supply cycle that we were sharing with you. So the supply cycle will push prices to another pricing point. The minimum unit size requirements will make units bigger and more expensive also. These things are all stacked onto one another. Down payments are also getting higher. Okay. In the previous shift in the market, once the supply is absorbed up, right? Remember 2017, that bull run, the government cooling measures brought LTV down from 80 to 75. So think about it. If we see a similar bull run, right, 2023 thereabouts, right? Assuming, right, simply by studying the supply side, we see a similar bull run, right? What are they going to do, right? ABSD is already at 12%, right? They got to 15%. The marginal effect will be very, very low. So what will they do, right? We've talked about this in one of our articles on the Right Move earlier this week. Chances are they will reduce the LTV in line with a lot of the other countries in Asia. Okay. And the last point, right? What's going to happen in the future, right? Summary of what we are talking about. Supply will taper off from 2024 due to lack of land sales, lack of en bloc since the July 18 cooling measures, and also due to COVID-19. It doesn't help that now we expect the construction timelines to also stretch. So even the government recognize this and they start to launch the land, let's say early next year. The supply may only come online late 2025 onwards. Or 2026, right? And we are taking this from the recent BTO launch that they are saying to expect your keys 2027. So it's we see this little gap over there that would be underserved. Yeah.
Between 2024 to 2027. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So we have some questions from Matthew and Esther, but I think we'll leave it till the end of the Q&A before we go through all of that with everyone. So moving on, what buyers should pay attention to. So the very first point that we have is that quantums are more sensitive. We should be looking at quantums above PSF. So while PSF is always the thing that people like to talk about, and it's important because you don't want to be paying like 2,000 PSF for an OCR property, for example, in Sengkang. We are personally more sensitive to quantum. So what exactly is quantum? Quantum is the actual price that you pay for the unit. So for example, $1.3 million for a 3-bedroom, the quantum is $1.3 million versus PSF where you divide it by the size and things like that. So why should we not be overly focused on PSF? It's because the whole idea will really scare us all a lot, especially when we compare it to the past. So like you see Sengkang at 1,800 PSF, you see Queenstown at 2,000 PSF, but just 3 years ago, you know that your ECs are at 800 PSF, and people were also already questioning them. ECs at 800 PSF, isn't that too expensive? Or your condos at 1200 PSF 3 years, 4 years ago, isn't that too expensive? And if you were to go and ask your parents, our parents, they would find that the PSF now is out of control. My father himself would actually even say, do you know last time the sale at Marina Bay is only at 900 per square feet? So when you look at the past and you think about the PSF now, it's always very scary. And so that's why we have to accept that PSF will inevitably go up in the future because land prices are going up, construction costs are also going up. So instead of being overly focused on PSF, we should then start shifting our mindset and think about the quantum and be more sensitive about that, because that is actually what is going to that is going to affect the affordability of the property when you are buying it now and when you want to resell it in the future. So if we take a look at, if we were to take a look at the take-up rates of the new home sales by price quantums in May and June, which is just 2 months ago, you will see that, interestingly, right, 1 to 1.5 million, that budget has the highest take-up rate, and 1.5 to 2 million budget is actually pretty close in take-up rate to the 1 million budget. So it's an interesting trend, and that leads us to our next point. When you are buying a property, you should be able to visualize who will your buyers be in the future, because we don't expect to stay in a property for, forever, although we would like to, but we like to think back about flexibility, and if we ever need to, who are we going to sell it to? So we don't want to offend anybody here, but there are certain developments and certain types of units in that particular development which we would struggle to visualize who the buyers would be in the future. So if you cannot visualize who the buyer is going to be, then you should ask your agent. And if your agent cannot give you an answer, then you may want to think twice about whether you should proceed with that property. So for any of you guys out there who are considering any properties and you just want to think about this, who your buyers are going to be, drop us your question in the comment section, and later during the Q&A we'll pick up two and help everybody visualize who the buyers will be for these kind of properties in the future. So do include the development you're looking at and the unit type. Yeah. So one extra point, the last point, capital appreciation. So for anyone who's looking for capital appreciation for a property, whether it's for own stay or for investment, we encourage you to think outside the box. So we have given you guys clues earlier in the previous slides on where the undersupply would be, and we would really give the OCR some serious thought. But we got to be aware on the types of units that you choose for these developments. Yeah, so I think we are at the end of our sharing for today. We'll proceed to the Q&A. So
right, so like what Elise mentioned, right? So for those of you, right, maybe for those of you who have purchased a property or is thinking about purchasing a property, and is not unsure or cannot visualize who you're going to sell the property to, right? Put it into the chat, right? Let us help you, right? If we cannot, then then of course problem lah. But we'll try our best. So do put it in, right? While waiting for the comments and the questions to come in, let us talk about hi Jill. We are almost at the end. So now Q&A. Okay, let's talk about Matthew's. Let's address Matthew's question, right? This supply of land, does it affect landed more or apartments or condos? Okay, the info that we shared is talking about condo apartments, right? Non-landed residential properties. Okay. Right. Hi, Chris. So Chris' question, right? Does the 85 square meter ruling necessarily mean an increase in supply of number of 3 bedders and above, right? Example, Penrose, and thus more competition to sell these units in the future.
Penrose seems to be coming out a lot. It came out again in the previous Facebook Live.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So if you really take a look at it, I think there's two parts to my answer. The first part, right? Would we see a higher number of 3 bedders? Based on the info we have for Penrose, it is true. The percentage of 3 bedders will be more than one and 2 bedders. Okay. But that being said, the 3 bedders that we see at the newer developments are of a bigger size than the 3 bedders we see in the developments built under the old ruling, the 70 square meter ruling. Yeah, but you're correct, right? Banks land on quantum and not so much on per square feet. It's a good point, which is another reason why we say to focus on quantums and not per square feet. Okay. Thanks, Chai. Yeah. So if anyone else have any questions, anybody have thoughts on questions on whether or not a particular property can sell in the future, right? Let us know. Or even if you guys have some questions on your head that you want us to use, because this is the last part of our 3-part series. I haven't exactly thought about what I'm going to talk about in the next Facebook Live. So
Esther has a question. So Esther's question is it common now for new launch PSF to range from 1,400 to 1,800 even? And do we think that the new supply cycle developments will set their PSF starting price even higher?
You want to answer that?
Yeah, so actually, the truth is that for the new launches around in the market these days, based on what we see in the market, it really is pretty common to find new launches within the range of 1,400 to 1,800 that you mentioned. I think you have probably seen a few, and that's how you got that range out. We can still find some that are under 1,400 per square feet, and to us personally, those are the ones that we think represent a good opportunity to consider as a next step. So the next part to your question, do you think the new supply cycle developments will set their PSF starting price even higher? So we then go back to the fundamentals, which would be firstly to consider what is the land price that the developers have bought their land at, because that is going to be the biggest bulk of the purchase of the cost, I mean, for the developers. So if the land costs are increasing, then we would then expect, the new supply cycle developments to be of a higher price. So the other thing to take note is the surrounding area, the current developments that are being launched. So if you were a developer and there are developments in that same district as you that are being sold at, for example, 1,700 per square feet already, would you then, with your new upcoming development, price cheaper? So I think that's the thing to think about. If everyone is stuck and the units are not moving, then yes, maybe as the developer with the new project, I would then be worried and want to price a little bit lower. But if it's moving and transactions are doing fine, I don't think to the developer they see a reason for having to price it cheaper and cutting themselves short.
Second question from Esther, right? Would your advice be for purchasing a boutique development in District 19, Min Residences at Jensen? Interesting, which is a penthouse about 1,500. Who would be the potential buyer? Okay. Boutique development penthouses, I would be extra careful, right? To be completely honest with you.
Let's check out the location.
Roughly I know where lah. It's not super convenient. But that being said, right, Esther, penthouses are notoriously hard to sell. And notoriously known to lose money, right? Because Singaporeans are right. I'm not sure about the layout per se, right? But if it comes with a huge roof terrace, yeah, not a very big pool of people would want to buy it, lah. Right? Of course, if you get it as a fire sale, you get it like, you know, 1,000. I'm not sure how much. 1,500 square feet. How much is the open roof terrace space? Right? If it's small enough, 200, 300 square feet. Okay, not so bad, right? You get it at the 1.3, 1.2, 1.3 million mark. We feel it's fine. But yeah, if 1.5 and above, you know, we would have second thoughts about it, lah.
But I think the idea is that for most people, they look at penthouse really as a lifestyle, whereby, you know, you have most penthouses is either those 2 stories with the roof terrace on top for you to have like your gardening in the air, or you know, the penthouses with super high ceiling and then your glass windows all along. It's a very lifestyle kind of choice, and hence why we say it is notoriously hard to sell, because you then have to find a buyer who likes specifically that kind of lifestyle, which would then be more unique compared to your other apartments, whereby, you know, they are all very standard and will suit the common majority.
Yeah, Chris say we don't like boutique and penthouses. Of course, you buy for your own stay, and if you can stay forever, you really like it. Yeah, it's a personal preference.
Yeah, it's a
right?
personal preference.
But if you ask us from an investment point of view, honestly, it's not it right. Data wise, it's always shown that it's not really the best.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, as Chris said, limiting your potential pool of buyers, that's something that we try to avoid if you are, you know, relatively young in your 30s, 40s, and this may not be your final home. If this is, you know, when you're your 50s and it's your final home, fine. Go and enjoy your life.
Yeah. Jackson, right? Also another follower of ours, right? You've been with us a couple of Facebook lives already. So 2020 is considered undersupply, correct? Because today, if you ask us, right, or you look around for developments that is going to TOP, right, you notice you cannot really see, right? And this is another thought to it. Those that are going to TOP, Forest Woods, Seaside Residences, Grandeur Park, they have still some units available. Go and take a look at the prices of those units. Compare those units to the prices of those units that bought day one. You see how much the developer have increased the price for those units. If they have a lot of competition, a lot of TOP together, think about it. You think the developer can price that increase? And people actually pay. People actually pay. So yeah, food for thought. Okay. Mock Lily. In view of new development built with bigger square area, does this have implication on the resale price of old developments with smaller unit areas? Right. For example, 1076 square feet. Good point, very sharp, Lily. So yes, if next time, right, the newer development, 3-bedders, if we look at Penrose, if I'm not wrong, we are expecting the 3-bedders to come in at 1,001, 1,002, 1,003 square feet even, right? And they have to clock in about 1,005, 1,006 PSF. Their quantum will be quite big, right? And so if that quantum becomes so big that the gap between, let's say, a new 3-bedder is like 1.7, 1.8 million, then of course those people that have entered now, for example, or in the past, right, they have that entered at, let's say, 1.2, 1.3 million. There is room for you to price yourself upwards. That's the gap that we talk about, right? Gaps that we always like to point out to clients, right? So yes, you will have room to grow. Yeah, if you are pegging yourself to the newer developments that is bigger and more expensive, right? So we hope that we have answered your questions. Of course, right? If we haven't, or you haven't thought about the question, right, you can always drop us a text or come in 2 weeks from now and ask us the question in our next Facebook Live. So we thank you guys again, right? Timothy, right? Always happy to share, right? Thank you so much for your kind words, Chris, Jackson, Esther, Lily for your questions, Matthew for your questions, right? Thanks everybody. Good night. So see you guys 2 weeks from now.